The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected. Good evening, I'm Taylor Murray. Welcome to the National News Desk, America's News Now. We begin with breaking news this evening. 2 West Virginia National Guard members have been shot near the White House and are in critical condition. We're told 1 suspect is now in custody. We go to the National News Desk. Megan Clark, she's alive near the White House. Megan, what do we know so far?
Taylor, as you mentioned, there truly a terrible incident happening on this Thanksgiving Eve. What was a very busy night here in a very busy part of the district, Northwest D.C., as you said, blocks from the White House. We are showing you where we are. We're about a block away from where this happened, 17th and I. Now, as you mentioned, those 2 Guards members in critical condition tonight. They are in the hospital. A suspect is also in custody. So much activity. We were speaking when we arrived to this location about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago with workers leaving their buildings. One said their building went on lockdown after they heard the shots. She told me it sounded like car exhaust, like some kind of explosion. We saw families picking up their babies from a daycare behind us. You could just see the fear on their face with the tape, the lights, the police. A feeling of fear is here in this air right now around us. Also, for those who may have family flying in for the Thanksgiving holiday, we reported on this, the ground stop, the initial ground stop at DCA, very serious. That has now been lifted, but residual delays may be experienced by those who are traveling into the DC region. Again, the latest, those 2 Guards members in the hospital, critical condition. A suspect is in custody, and we know this was a targeted shooting. Taylor, back to you.
Yeah, that's right, Megan. That was D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser saying it was a targeted shooting. A lot of people are responding on this hour. What specifically is Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, saying about this tonight?
In fact, a huge response from the Defense Secretary, as you mentioned, already committing hundreds of additional Guards troops to the district after what happened. You know, we have more information as well from that press conference with FBI Director Kash Patel and other leaders, but the director saying and kind of painting a picture of the immediate action and the heroism by Guards members in the area after this happened, saying they were able to, nearby Guards members were able to jump into action and subdue that suspect. I know we'll be hearing more, a lot of information coming out right now, very dynamic situation in the last few hours, but I'm sure those stories of heroism will be coming to light as we learn more about what happened here this afternoon. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with those 2 Guards members who we know are in critical condition tonight. Taylor.
In Washington, D.C., Megan Clark, thank you. And of course, this is a breaking story. Stay with us as we continue to track developments throughout the night. We'll have coverage for you both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. In a similar targeted threat to ICE agents, we are learning about a Virginia assistant high school principal and his brother who are now behind bars accused of plotting to kill ICE agents. The Department of Homeland Security announced their November 19th arrest today. John Wilson Bennett, on the left, was taken into custody at Norfolk International Airport before flying out to Las Vegas. DHS claims he was seeking to meet like-minded individuals and procure firearms and explosives. Mark Booth Bennett, on your right hand of the screen, assistant principal at Kempsville High School since 2009, also apprehended last Wednesday in Virginia Beach. Their court date has not been set. Well, a chill of Arctic cold air is sweeping across the country just as family and friends take to roads and skies to, of course, gather for Thanksgiving. Millions of people across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes will experience a white Thanksgiving. In fact, fresh snow is forecast to hit the Dakotas and Minnesota and travel towards Wisconsin and Michigan today. Winter storm warnings have been issued for portions of North Dakota, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and Michigan, while some areas in northeastern South Dakota and the upper peninsula of Michigan are under blizzard warnings. Another snowstorm affecting western and central states is expected by this Saturday, and bitter cold is spreading east and south. Well, depending upon your travel route in the hours and days ahead for the Thanksgiving holiday, weather could obviously be a challenge. Take a look at this. This is North Dakota Highway Patrol saying several roads near Fargo closed yesterday. This was after at least 8 inches of snowfall there. Officials say semi-trucks jackknifed and blocked a road in Minnesota, leading to a long pileup of vehicles, but thankfully no injuries. At several major airports today, forecasters expect possible travel delays and cancellations. That's the outlook for Chicago, Boston, New York, and farther down the East Coast. Also, you heard D.C. had a ground stop. That was DCA. Data from FlightAware shows a little over 100 cancellations within, cancellations. There we go. Within, into, or out of the U.S. today. And there are over 4,100 flights delayed. On average, there were 340 daily cancellations last year and roughly 5,600 daily delays. So it's a little better this year. Air traffic control and TSA operations are back to normal with the government shutdown now behind us. In other news now developing now, the election interference case against President Donald Trump and several of his co-defendants in Georgia is officially over. Prosecutor Pete Skandalakis, who recently took over the case, wrote to the court, "In my professional judgment, the citizens of Georgia are not served by pursuing this case in full for another 5 to 10 years." Now, the presiding judge then dismissed the case in its entirety. The charges against the president were already unlikely to move forward with him back in the White House, but 14 others still face charges in the RICO case, accused of plotting to overturn the 2020 election results. 4 of the original 19 indicted pleaded guilty to lesser charges. Skandalakis was appointed prosecutor after Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis was removed for an appearance of impropriety. Well, Russia is now considering a U.S.-backed plan to end the war in Ukraine. Today, an aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin said the plan will be discussed when he meets with Trump envoy Steve Witkoff next week. Now, according to the aide, Russian officials approve some parts of the draft they've seen, while other sections they say are problematic. Ukraine wants security guarantees from the U.S.
I'm counting on further active cooperation with the American side and with President Trump. Much depends on America because it is American strength that Russia takes into account the most.
That said, Ukraine is tentatively on board with the plan. This, as Bloomberg News is reporting, Steve Witkoff coached an aide to Putin on how to pitch a peace plan to President Trump. According to the news outlet, a transcript of an October call shows Witkoff advised the aide to have Putin call President Trump to talk about the plan. Witkoff suggested Putin congratulate Trump on the Gaza peace deal and tell him Russia supports that deal and considers the president a man of peace. Now, critics say this alleged transcript shows Witkoff favors Russia. Meanwhile, President Trump says he has not heard this audio, but says he's not concerned, calling the comments a standard negotiating procedure.
He's going to sell this to Ukraine. He's going to sell Ukraine to Russia. That's what a deal maker does. You got to say, look, they want this. You've got to convince them with this.
The president also said he imagines Witkoff is saying the same thing to Ukraine and that each side will have to give and take. New information about the alleged ISIS-inspired terror plot out of Dearborn, Michigan that the FBI stopped just ahead of Halloween. The FBI now says that bust back in October has exposed a global terror network. 8 suspects were arrested in 3 cities, Dearborn, Newark, and Seattle. And 2 suspects have been charged in federal court. The FBI said the case has also led to arrests overseas that have been directly related to the Dearborn plot, including arrests in Europe. Well, a federal judge is ordering ICE agents in Colorado not to arrest anyone without a warrant unless they believe that person is both here illegally and likely to flee. Now, they also must document the reasons for the arrest. The ruling stems from a lawsuit claiming ICE agents indiscriminately arrest Latinos to meet enforcement goals. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin has called this claim disgusting and false and suggested there would be an appeal. Well, the DOJ admits DHS Secretary Kristi Noem authorized deportation flights to El Salvador to continue against a federal judge's order. Comes after the judge said he pursue a criminal contempt inquiry to find out who was responsible for defying his order. The case centers around the use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged gang members faster. Chicago is in the national spotlight again for crime concerns after a woman was set on fire. Here's the National News Desk, Kayla Gaskins with the latest.
President Trump zeroing in on the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago.
It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob.
The heavy criticism following news of a 26-year-old woman set on fire while riding a public train. The man accused of the crime, Lawrence Reed, has been arrested 72 times. 8 of those are felony convictions.
They burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times, and they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again.
In August, a Cook County judge released Reed, even after he allegedly hit a social worker so hard he knocked her out.
It is the judgment of those elected judges that ultimately determines, in most cases, whether somebody is released or not. And it's a better way, by the way, than bail, because bail is sort of an automatic out for people who just happen to have enough money.
Trump's criticism comes off the heels of another violent weekend for Chicago, where at least 8 teens were shot, all between the ages of 13 and 17 years old. A 14-year-old died. A Democratic alderman for Chicago, Raymond Lopez, blames Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson.
All of these failures come right back to his doorstep. The blood is on his hands.
Lopez saying the mayor and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker should take Trump up on his offer to send in the National Guard to clean up crime.
What we have seen is more compassion and empathy from Donald Trump wanting to correct this than we've gotten from our own mayor.
So, Governor Pritzker, if you're listening, let's get your act together. Invite us in. We're going to make your place so safe.
The governor and mayor have both sharply opposed the sending of federal troops to Chicago, as Trump did in the nation's capital. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins, reporting for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Coming up, prices on more than a dozen prescription drugs are set to drop. How this happened and how much it could save you. Then the new technology at the Las Vegas airport that's cutting security wait times for Thanksgiving travelers. Plus, Democrats who urge military members to refuse illegal orders will soon meet with the FBI. The chances an investigation gets launched and possible consequences. We're back in 90 seconds. Jobless claims are down, showing the number of layoffs in the U.S. is still low, even as it becomes harder to find a job after losing it. Government data from last week shows initial claims dropped 6,000 to a seasonally adjusted 216,000 fewer than expected. Analysts say the numbers support the idea that businesses are not firing or hiring new employees, called a no hire, no fire job market. Well, drug prices in this country are among the highest in the world. Lowering the cost of at least some of them has been a top priority for the Trump administration, which just announced a plan to do just that. It'll apply to more than a dozen popular drugs and could save the federal government billions of dollars. The National News Desk, Christine Frizzell, brings us the details.
The Trump administration touting major savings to the federal government, thanks to a new round of negotiated drug prices on 15 drugs, including those used to treat asthma, cancer, and depression.
The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services just announcing lower negotiated prices on a slew of prescription drugs.
Price cuts will save Medicare an estimated $12 billion in prescription drug spending.
Also on the list, popular weight loss drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic, which have helped treat diabetes as well. Their price is set to drop 71% for Medicare beneficiaries.
Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity.
The broader plan by the White House to lower costs also includes new deals with drug giants Pfizer and AstraZeneca to open new manufacturing facilities inside the United States and to allow them to sell their drugs directly to U.S. consumers at a discounted rate.
It's now law.
The Inflation Reduction Act, signed into law by President Joe Biden, which not a single Republican voted for, authorized Medicare to negotiate new prices for certain drugs for the first time, a resource the Trump administration is now using to lessen the gap between what Americans and what those in other countries pay for the same drugs. As FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary told me earlier this year.
We are funding the research and development for the world. We should not be paying all the lion's share of this R&D work without other countries chipping in.
So you're saying other countries' citizens should simply pay more for the drugs?
We are the largest purchasers of drugs in the world, the United States is. So we'd like good pricing on those drugs.
Last year, 5.3 million Americans used these drugs, which will now have their prices lowered. The change is set to kick in 2027. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National News Desk.
3 men have been arrested in Hong Kong on suspicion of manslaughter as a massive fire broke out in a residential area of a 7-apartment building around 2:30 in the afternoon local time yesterday. At least 36 people have been confirmed dead, dozens more injured, and nearly 280 residents remain unaccounted for in the high rises. Earlier tonight, firefighters at the scene talked about the problems with reaching people on the higher floors.
Fires in some individual units are very fierce, and our firefighters have encountered extremely high temperatures inside the buildings. Furthermore, there are still cases in the upper floors that we are still unable to reach.
The apartment buildings house more than 4,000 people. Authorities say they will be looking into whether materials on the exterior walls of those buildings met fire resistance standards, as the rapid spread of the fire, they say, was unusual. Coffee drinkers, an extra cup in the morning could help extend your life a little bit. This is great news for me and my producer, Daniel. We love coffee. A new study published in the British medical journal Mental Health section finds that individuals that had 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day had longer telomeres. Now, that's over people that did not drink coffee. Telomeres are located in our chromosomes and are indicators of cellular aging. The longer strands for the patients in the study were comparable to, quote, a biological age of 5 years younger than non-coffee drinkers. The researchers credit the antioxidant qualities of coffee for the effect, but say more research is needed to confirm the association. We have reporters all across the country and your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Nevada, where new airport technology is reducing security wait times.
Trisha Christmas is flying to the Midwest with her husband and kids. And even as the Thanksgiving air travel pace picks up, they're already flying through the Terminal 3 security checkpoint. How would you rate this particular screening facility?
10 out of 10 for sure.
So much easier. When we pulled up, I was like, oh, we're going to be here forever. And it's been 5 minutes.
It's due in large part to what's called the Innovation Checkpoint at Terminal 3. It all began in 2019 as a partnership between TSA and the Clark County Department of Aviation to test new passenger screening technology, both hardware and software. Vendors can then use this real-world feedback to make changes before a large purchase is made.
Base jumping just outside of Moab on November 12th. Seconds into Scotty's jump, he was cliffed out.
I missed my left toggle, which is really the one that I want to be pulling to turn left.
Scotty hiked up to the area and was jumping by himself that day. He had 3 friends in the parking lot watching from below.
My initial worry was just falling further. I didn't know how stable I was on the cliff there. Turned out I was quite stable. I'm okay.
Scotty's phone was in his pocket. He used Siri to make a phone call to his friends who called for help.
Just breathe. Start getting frustrated. Just breathe.
The whole time leading up to it, I was able to be calmed down by my friends, just hear their voices, which is amazing, even when they weren't talking to me. And then the rescuers told me what they were doing through that call as well.
Scotty suffered a broken wrist and badly injured leg with the bone exposed, but not broken.
Signs of a brutal attack still scar the outside of Lee Vogler's private office in Danville. And the pain, he still feels it every day.
And I hurt pretty much every day, but I feel good. I feel good being here, and every day above ground is a good day.
A miracle, considering that it was just in July that he was doused with gasoline and set on fire. It left 60% of his body badly burned.
My family was told he's got severe infections in multiple parts of his body, he may not be here tomorrow.
But now Vogler is happy to say he is back doing what he loves and thriving.
Coming up, a possible FBI investigation into the Democratic lawmakers who urged military members to refuse illegal orders. Right after this. The FBI is working to schedule interviews with the 6 Democratic lawmakers who posted a video urging service members not to follow illegal orders. This comes after the Pentagon says they are investigating Senator Mark Kelly, a retired Navy captain who could potentially face court-martial proceedings. The National News Desk Jeff Harris has more.
The Pentagon announcing this week its investigation into Kelly, a retired Navy pilot, surrounds possible breaches of military law. Details about these new interviews were not immediately clear, but does signal a possible probe could be coming into the matter. The controversial video was posted on social media last week. 6 Democratic lawmakers, including Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin, urging service members not to comply with illegal orders.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
you can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
In response, President Trump taking to Truth Social, writing the lawmaker should be arrested and tried for, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. FBI Director Kash Patel saying interviews will determine if an investigation is needed.
Is there a lawful predicate to open up an inquiry and investigation, or is there not? And that decision will be made by the career agents and analysts here at the FBI.
All 6 lawmakers confirming the FBI did contact the House or Senate sergeants at arms requesting interviews. The House members involved releasing a joint statement, including Colorado Representative Jason Crow, writing in part, quote, President Trump is using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass members of Congress. Meanwhile, Slotkin was asked directly this week if she believes President Trump has issued any illegal orders. Her response?
I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes.
Now, the interviews come shortly after the Pentagon announced it's opening an investigation into Kelly over violations of military law. But Kelly pushing back against Trump in the administration, saying he won't back down.
He doesn't want accountability. But, Rachel, I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be intimidated.
Federal criminal defense attorney Ron Chapman tells us the FBI does have jurisdiction to look into any potential violations of federal offenses.
This is a very dangerous action when coming from people in a position of power because it relates to over 1 million service members.
And under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, service members are required to follow the laws of the United States. Chapman saying the video by these lawmakers could be considered conspiracy.
Then you really get into a situation where you have individuals who have conspired to cause people potentially to violate the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That is obstruction of justice, plain and simple.
Now, in a letter written Tuesday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is also ordering the Navy to assess Kelly's comments in that video and deliver a report back to him, setting a deadline of December 10th to do so. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
Coming up, Vice President J.D. Vance's message to service members as he shares a Thanksgiving meal with them right after this. Vice President Vance thanks our men and women in uniform at Fort Campbell.
You guys make this a happy Thanksgiving for me because every single day you show up to work, you put on that uniform and make your nation proud. You make me proud to be your vice president.
The VP, a former service member himself, is in Kentucky for a 2-day visit. Vance and his family are sharing a Thanksgiving meal with the troops. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again this evening as we follow the latest updates from Washington, D.C. on today's shooting of 2 West Virginia National Guard members. I'm Taylor Murray. Thanks for watching.